Hello and welcome, fellow captains. I am Phoenix, and welcome to another episode of Eject the Warp Core. Today's subject that caused me to eject the Warp Core is the money. Now, money in this current day and age makes the world go round. The same can be said for almost any game that you've ever played. MMOs and Star Trek Online are no different in this regard. What sets Star Trek Online apart from other MMOs or games is that I feel that there is way too many currencies and issues. They are broken down into two types of currencies, primary and secondary currencies. Starting off with primary currencies, the main in-game currency that everyone gets and uses, which is energy credits or EC, which is this guy right here. This is the currency that players can use to purchase items in stores, so the requisition, BOF trading, and commodities, or the exchange trader. This currency is normal for any game, and because of this, I have no issue. The issue I do have is that you don't get any EC from the start, meaning you don't start with any EC, and none of the story missions give you any EC as a reward. This, I think, is absolutely silly, since EC would be your pay wage as a Starfleet officer doing your mission. In order to make EC, you have to sell items that you procure through missions, which these items do not sell for very much to begin with. So it will take you a while to get enough EC to get some decent gear. Now, I can see some of you folks saying to me, to be honest, Phoenix, you really don't need EC until you get to level 50. Well, I see your point of view on that. I still have to disagree. While you don't need the best gear as a lieutenant or lieutenant commander, it would be beneficial for players to have EC to spend on some better gear for your ship or character than the crappy gear that your ship comes with when you first obtain it, or the random crap that drops when you are doing your missions. And I will even state that the final mission rewards can give you some pretty awesome gear. The problem comes when you have to run that mission multiple times to get everything you want, and assuming you want the other rewards. And with that problem of having the cooldown timer, check out my first Eject the Warp Core video here. It gets players frustrated. Up next is Gold Press Latinum or GPL, which is located here. Why is this considered a primary currency? We'll never know, considering that this is the most useless form of currency in-game. Quite literally, it is only needed for a story mission. Yes, you can purchase some items at the conversion store, but those items are pretty much useless, and there are only 4 locations that accept GPL, and a few DOF missions. Other than that, it is useless. Following GPL is Dilithium. Dilithium, funny enough, is given to players as part of mission rewards, while EC is not. While the reward amount for Dilithium is kind of low, it is quite difficult to accumulate. There are several ways to get it, however the reward amount, again, is low to moderate. Now, Dilithium, there are some issues that can occur here, but before I get into the negative, let me talk about the one positive thing about Dilithium. You can use it to exchange it for real money currencies, which I will go into more in depth later. Now on to the negative points. First, you have to convert it from an ore to an actual dilithium, shown here. So here's your ore. Unfortunately, I have none. And when you have some, you can refine it into dilithium, which I have 11,000 at the time. The good thing about that is it is a 1-to-1 ratio. The downside is that you are only allowed to refine 8K or 8,000 ore in a 20-hour period. And if you are a gold or veteran player, you get to refine 10K or 10,000. Now, if you get an influx of dilithium, it may take you a few days just to get through it all. The second issue, you can use it to purchase items in the dilithium store, shown here. And some of these items aren't even worth the price of dilithium. As you can see here, some of these stuff, like who needs 10 warp coils for 27,200 refined dilithium? Not me. I don't think anyone does. The third issue, and I think this is the biggest problem of all. Why in the blue is dilithium a currency? When Atari first developed STO, did they not understand what dilithium really was? Had they not even watched any of the shows? And Cryptic, when you took over, why in the blue did you not remove this? Or change it to something that does make sense? Like, oh, I don't know, maybe gold press Latinum? Dilithium is a fuel/power source, not a currency. I'm sure during the next season or update, perhaps Cryptic, you can change it so that instead of dilithium ore, you can get gold Latinum strips or GSL and convert them to gold pressed Latinum. I would hope that this is something that can be easily changed over. GPL is a useless currency, so why not make it useful? Now that the royal rant is over, let us discuss the next source of currency. Everyone's favorite, fleet credits. Similar to dilithium in that you have to convert it from marks into credits, the only difference is that you can convert it as many times as you want or need. While this is normally not an issue, sometimes it was difficult to get them converted over to credits before the Armada system was released. Another problem is that while I think that some of the items that you can purchase from the fleet store, prices may seem a little out of whack. I can see it being more reasonable considering that for every fleet mark you get X number of fleet credits, so that balances itself out. The next currency on this topic is reputation marks, shown here, this big column right here. Now, we all know that once you hit level 50, the daily grind of getting the reputation marks so that you can get access to some pretty decent gear, but then the sad truth of having to grind away again just to purchase that gear. The struggle is real, my friends. Very real. Joking aside, rep marks are used in a few ways. They are needed to level up the 5 tiers of each reputation, so Omega, Iconia, Terran, etc. And when you finally finish completing those 5 tiers, you will get full access to some pretty decent ship gear and ground equipment. Once all the equipment is unlocked, you will need more rep marks along with dilithium and EC to purchase the equipment. This can take quite a bit of time, and if you're like me, a casual player, it will take forever. The drawback is not necessarily with the marks themselves, but the STFs needed to obtain the marks. Both the Romulan and Dyson STFs are pretty much dead, so obtaining marks for them can be troublesome, or it will take a while if you haven't done them. Following the primary currency is the secondary currencies. First up is the Lobi crystals, shown here. Lobi can be attained through those dreadful lockboxes that Cryptic keeps shoving down our throats for a maximum number of 4 Lobi crystals per box. Lobi is used to purchase items at the Lobi Consortium or Drones Station. You can also right-click or you can double-click to get the store menu if you don't feel like going to the Drones Station. Lobi can be transferred to each of your characters if you have an account bank. You can use Lobi to purchase ships, consoles, and other items that are in the lockbox. Now, a few things about Lobi. One, you have to get a master key, shown here. You have to get a master key in order to open up a lockbox, which costs real money, and then you get Lobi, but only a small amount of it. So you'll need to open up more and more lockboxes to get more Lobi. Now, 2, if you open up enough lockboxes, you just might get the items that you're looking for, so you may not need any Lobi in the end. 3, Lobi crystals were only ever mentioned in 2 episodes of Star Trek Voyager, and the crystals are used for inexpensive jewelry and ornaments. So why are they used and hard to come by in-game is beyond me. At least the dev team at Cryptic gave somewhat of a plausible explanation as to why they are being used as a currency. I don't buy it, but at least it's better explanation than dilithium being used as a currency. And finally, we come to our last currency of the topic, and that is Zen, shown here. And Zen was formerly known as cryptic points. Here are two ways of purchasing Zen. One is on the Dilithium exchange, which I mentioned before. So here it is. So there's the Dilithium exchange. You can buy Zen or you can sell Zen for Dilithium. And here, and the other method is to use real world money by using your credit card or prepaid card or whatever else that they allow. And the ratio is 1-to-1, which is far more fair than other games that I have seen like Guild Wars 2. So you will get your money's worth in this instance. Now, despite some of my issues with other currencies, Zen is not really one of them. I may receive a bit of backlash or even have people unsubscribe from me because of what I'm about to say. But first, hear me out. Since STO adopted the free-to-play method, they have had to supplement their income with something else. So instead of making players pay $15 a month for a membership or the $350 for the lifetime membership subscription, they have had to pump out more items into the Zen store to keep the game up and running. Now, I will say this about some of the items in the Zen store. Some of these items are way too expensive or should not be in this Zen store at all, like the ship bundles being too expensive for what you're really getting, and the respect tokens should not be in the Zen store because they should be free to use for all players to respect their skill points. But for the most part, I don't have an issue with Zen. It makes sense. Now, there are some previous currencies that were in-game but no longer exist, and I want to quickly go over them. Now, before Season 5, there were other currencies that were removed and turned into Dilithium. These currencies were as follows: Starfleet merits, honor, badges of exploration, PvP medals, marks of honor, marks of exploration, marks of valor, and emblems. And finally, before Season 7, encrypted data chips were replaced by the Omega marks and the reputation system. Now, despite all this information, there is a lot that can be done to fix some of these things. The biggest change I would love to see is changing Dilithium over to gold pressed Latinum. This, I think, would make continuity within the Star Trek universe into Star Trek Online universe mesh very well. Another change I would like to see is having the story mission reward players with EC. Why Dilithium was handed over before EC, we'll never know. But I think this is a simple change that the dev team can do. And even switch it up. Some missions you get Dilithium, most missions you get EC. It makes sense to me. Now, when I first planned to do this Eject the Warp Core episode, I had an issue with fleet marks or credits. But now that the Armada system is in place, I think I can let that go for the time being. Low buy, while I think it is silly, there is some justification for it being around, so I'm not going to kick up a fuss. Zen, again, I have no issue with it as a currency. It makes sense. And finally, rep marks. The grind with those is the biggest problem, and I will be covering that in another episode of Eject the Warp Core. As a disclaimer for this video, I would like to say that I'm not trying to tell Cryptic how to do their job, or that their job that they do is crappy. I am merely suggesting my frustration with some of the mechanics, gameplay, and ideas that have been put into place with this game. Cryptic has shown us that they are willing to change and revamp some of the game and update it with things like the crafting system and most recently the skill point system, which I enjoy. Now, these are changes that I welcome and enjoy, obviously. I want STO to be a great game, and that is why I do these videos. I want the dev team to look and listen to my creative criticism, or I hope it is, or constructive criticism, and hopefully see what myself and millions of other players are upset about and make changes to make this game great and wonderful to play. So I will say thank you to the dev team at Cryptic who are working on making changes to STO. And I hope that some of my suggestions will encourage the dev team to make more positive changes to this game. Anyways, folks, that is it for me. Thank you for watching. Live long and prosper. And as always, we'll see you out there.